Hello and welcome to the Slingshot channel. Today I want to present to you the 5th generation of my instant Legolas. For those of you who don't know, instant Legolas is a repeating bow with a built-in magazine for arrows, and it's based on a compound bow, and since it doesn't have a trigger, it's legally not a crossbow, it's still just bow and arrow. And this means that in a lot of countries in the world, like Australia, Sweden and many others, this is legal, whereas crossbows are regulated. So for those of you who have not seen my previous Instant Legolas videos, the whole thing is based on a quiver basically mounted instead of the arrow rest. So it is an arrow rest in itself. It has a magazine, a stacked magazine, for up to 6 bolts. Those are in here. And this lever is putting pressure on them. The arrows are riding on the string. And if you pull back the string in the footy cock position, the arrow glides into the groove and then it can shoot. This differs a little bit from previous models. First of all, I mounted a red dot sight to it. So now it is very easy to aim with this. Also, it has this tiny little handle. And this is so tiny because you only hold it with 2 fingers, like so. So you press the thumb against the backside of it and you hold this thing steady like here. And this allows you to hold it steady. So when you draw out, you can hold on to the bow like this. It's very easy. And this allows you to control the entire frame a lot better, making the bow so much more accurate. A lot of people said, why not extending it and have a shoulder rest? But the problem is that then you wouldn't really be able to get a good grip on the string anymore, because that would be in the way. So it's very awkward. I tried it and it doesn't work. But this here works amazingly well. Just draw out, control, hit. Also, a difference is that this is a different youth bow. It's actually now a much more expensive, it's like a high-end youth bow. It's the Diamond Atomic. And the Diamond Atomic is very fast for its size, because if adjusted to full power, which I did of course, it has over 190 feet per second arrow speed, which is really significant for such a small bow. So I think it's a deadly weapon. And also, it is very lightweight, but the riser is aluminum, and this is really carbon fiber, or I don't know if it's carbon fiber, but it's fiber. So this is really a high-end bow. It costs like 250 euros just for the bow. Also, what I did is that I used some rubber bands to cushion the string, since you can't shoot this with a release, and therefore it can be uncomfortable to hold the string with your fingers. But with the rubber bands, it's really a no-brainer. It just doesn't matter. So those bolts are usually made for the Cobra R9, 15-inch version. And I'm using the 15-inch because, as you can see here, once it's inside, it actually stretches out over the slot. So the slot of the bow ends here, but the tip of the arrow is here. And this means that there is no way that this can come out and hit me in the hand. So I was using a lot shorter bolts beforehand, and then it can squeeze out of this slot. But with these arrows it cannot happen. So it's physically impossible. Therefore this is very safe to shoot. Very easy to load. You simply put the lever to the side. Then you can very easily slide in an arrow and let it drop down. So it's very quickly to reload, like so. Now a lot of people keep saying, oh, why is a magazine now removable? Well, because it would be totally bulky. It would have the same size as this entire setup. So why make one? It's stupid. Also, a lot of people say then use clips. But even the clips would be really big, like a stack of arrows like this. Even in a clip would be complicated. And then how do you solve the problem that you need a spring that presses down on them? So I think it is a lot better to simply reload this every time. Since if you have a situation where 6 bolts aren't enough, then you are in trouble using a bow. So is this fast to shoot? I think so. Let's try to shoot from the hip. Oh, empty. The spring lever is hooked and it catches the string when you try to cock the bow on an empty magazine. So what about accuracy? Well, I think it's fairly accurate for such a small bow. Let us do 6 shots and then you can judge by yourself. Distance is about 10-11 meters, something like that. Okay, empty. Okay, so here's our 6 shots. I don't think it's bad at all. Let's try from 20 meters. Okay, 20 meters distance. That's a mighty distance for such a small bow. Okay, so that's the result. As you see, it's kind of the limit of the reach, but I still think it's fairly good. Don't forget that from that distance, the red dot sight without any magnification is already a bit tricky. So far we've been using field tips all the way, but that isn't absolutely required. Since if you want to use this for, let's say, home defense, then I think a broadhead is a much better choice. And of course this is broadheads, but only 2-edge broadheads. Otherwise they're not stackable. So magazine is fully loaded with broadheads. Of course they're a bit heavier, but also a lot more sharp. Oh, only loaded it with 5. So what is this actually good for? Well, first of all, it's totally fun to shoot. It's so much fun. I think it's the most fun bow that I ever shot. Since it's so easy to draw, I mean, it only has 29 pounds draw weight in the maxed out setting. So, and you can even go below. So that is actually super. But I also think it's a viable self-defense tool. Since in a country where there's nothing else, even in Germany, like a crossbow must be kept under lock and key. And all other guns, of course, the same thing, separated from ammo and so on. While this thing is a bow is unregulated, you can keep this next to your bedstand. And there are many other countries where this is like the same situation. Is this suitable for self-defense? I think totally, because it's so small that it's really no problem to maneuver with it in your house, should you find that there is an attacker in there. And also, of course, the shot frequency is so high, specifically from a short distance, where you don't have to think twice, when you can just fire away. So I think it's the fastest shooting, fastest repeating, muscle-operated weapon on the market. It's a lot more accurate than like a Chinese Shukonu, but it's still very, very small. And due to the fact that this is a compound with a let-off, it's also almost like a crossbow because it is no effort to keep it cocked. It's probably 5 pounds pulling on your fingers. So it's really nothing. I think it is a really viable product, and I believe that I will try to get this into production somewhere. Now, if I say I'm trying to do this, expect that it's going to take at least a year, maybe a year and a half before this hits the shop. And of course, if we put this in production, of course, this could be a lot slimmer since I'm using wood. And if I use plastic or even aluminum, this could be a lot slimmer in profile. It's not so much of a problem, but of course, the more far you have to spread your fingers, the less comfortable it is to shoot. It's my favorite instant Legolas so far, and I believe the only one that is worth to be brought into production. In Germany, since 2017, we are no longer allowed to have a crossbow out in the open. This means that when we are sleeping or when we are away, we have to keep it under lock. It doesn't matter what kind of lock that is, as long as it's a locked cabinet. And therefore I thought maybe it is a good idea to have a cabinet for a crossbow that is easy to unlock. So I'm using one of these fingertip sensors house door devices and installed it into this cabinet so that I can quickly open it simply by putting my finger up here. And there is my adder. It's very, very easy to take the adder and get it out, like so. And then of course I can immediately switch on the light and the laser. So this makes it really, really easy to defend your home with it. It has a magazine, so all I have to do is repeat the action and then I'm ready for some nasty home defense. So as you see, these are normally made for house doors, which are a lot thicker than this cabinet door. Therefore I had to make like a wooden frame to keep it all on here. Now the way how this lock works is actually quite interesting, because when you close it, this has no function. You need to take your finger, or you can train any one of your fingers. I think I trained 3 fingers here. So you can take your finger and put it on here like so. And it recognizes it. And now I have about, I don't know, 10 seconds until the machine shuts itself off. And this doesn't work anymore. It's a very, very clever solution. Also, this is where the lock is pressed against. And I only attach it with 2 screws. This means when I'm really in a bad situation and I have no time to fumble with this, I can simply rip this open by pulling hard enough. Then the 2 screws will come out and the thing is open anyway. But it's still legally a locked cabinet. So as you can see, I can also flip the bird to my cabinet and open it with the middle finger. Now I have put in custom-made hooks. And they are loose enough so that it's really, really easy to take the weapon out and put it in again. And of course, this is well made and closes easily. Of course, this isn't my only means of self-defense. I also have my air ringer, which is legal to be kept loaded at the bedside. I have my Ranchero custom-made carbine ready for shooting on the wall. Very, very simple to take off. I made these hooks myself, so it's a perfect match for the weapon. Plus I also have 1 or 2 knives close to my bed. So I hope you like this, because no, I'm joking, I'm not shooting indoors with this thing. My wife is going to be very angry if I do. In any case, I hope you like this, because that's it for today. Thanks and bye bye.